Welcome back to the Big Bass Dreams podcast, everybody. It's your host, Oliver Nye, Big Bass Dreams America. And today we got two special guests. Why don't you guys introduce yourselves?
I'm Cal,
I'm Josh.
and we are a part of Big Bass Dreams Australia.
At the moment we're getting smashed by midgies.
Yes,
boys.
we
got
are.
the red.
Cheers to the midgies, man. They have been an ongoing struggle out here in the Northern Territory of Australia, where we've spent the last week or so chasing big Barra dreams, as indicated by Cal's shirt, as well as big everything else dreams, much to the dismay of Josh when he had one big focus on his mind, and that's the big Barramundi, man. So we are beachside here, right next to one of the bays that we actually spent some time fishing and actually had quite a bit of fun. Multi-species, we hooked something pretty big on our reef right over here that we don't know what it was because it won the battle, like many things won the battle this week.
Just there, you caught that big cod, just out on that little point too.
That's right. Yeah, absolutely. Some of our best action was actually right here inside the bay within a couple thousand meters of the launch ramp.
Yeah.
And yes, I'm trying to use metric system because I am in Australia, and when you're in Rome, you do as the Romans. So anyways, one of the first things I like to ask my guests on this podcast is, and you guys can take turns answering this, but I want to know what one fish sticks out in your mind that still gives you big bass nightmares. The one that just absolutely kicked your ass.
You can go first, mate.
Well, for me, I don't really have one on the cod, but I moved up to Darwin when I was 21. I moved up here for a few years just to chase the barra. We had done trips, growing up to Weeper and stuff like that, chasing barra anyway. So after a couple of years of chasing the barra around there, trying to learn them, trying to break the code, finally had a good day. And well, it wasn't that good of a day because I lost him, but he would have been, I don't know, he was well over a metre. He come up, we got him trawling out the front of sampan, and we seen him come up, seen his big tail, and he almost spooled me on a zillion. We were chasing him around for about 5 or 10 minutes, didn't jump, just come up near the boat one time, and then ended up just hook just pulled, and mate, does my absolute head in.
Oh, that's brutal, man. And I finally got to experience some of that at the Barramundi fishing. How common is that for the guys that are watching that aren't familiar with this?
They are masters of escape. Like, yeah.
And they've just got so much power, and they come up on you so quick, and they just they're clear of the water before you've even realised, like your fish, right? It's like he's digging, and then all of a sudden he's just launched.
Yeah.
Fully out of the water.
You're
both
grinding
sides.
on him, and it's like they just got so much leverage if they can get any weight, and that hook is just.
After that fish too, the next bloke in front of me that was trawling caught a metre 25. And that day we hooked another couple of big ones. We never seen them. The biggest of the day was 97, and we were pretty much just dragging them up to the boat and just shaking them off at 700, like just straight back out there looking for the big one. But yeah, that was a good day's fishing, but that is the one that'll haunt me for a long time until I can I finally get me meet a barra anyway.
Wow.
Put my mind at ease. That's why when we were out this trip, it's all I care about. Just want to get that big barra.
I can relate, man. I can
Spent a
relate.
lot of time out there trying to work them out.
So, where does your personal best barra stand at right now?
I've done it by 1 centimetre this trip, 86.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Very cool. Very cool.
Still leaving plenty on the deck, huh?
Yeah.
Keep you coming back.
Oh, just eats away at me. Especially because I had a lot of, that one fish I was talking about is the biggest one in my head that always comes back to me. But I lost a lot of other good ones while I was up there, and it's just, they just do me every time. It's one of them things. You seen how easy it was to do it too, like you had the good, first time here, bang, you got the good fish on, and jumps next to the boat and just, there goes your lure.
Instantly off.
Yeah.
That's a subject for another time.
Yeah.
Mr. Cal, how about yourself, man?
I don't know, I was sort of thinking about this, and when I think back to sort of my Murray Cod, I feel like there's nothing that really sticks out where I've had one that I've seen and then lost, which was that was a new PB, or that was a new giant, or the one we've been chasing for 20 years type of thing. And same actually on the barra. I feel like I haven't really had enough clear-cut chances where I've hooked one, jumped, seen the quality of the fish, had plenty on that could have been a big barramundi and then hooks pulled, but it could have also been lots of other things. So to me, like, those ones don't hurt as much.
A little bit of unknown in there.
Yeah.
Versus if you were certain if it was a big bear or a big cod.
Yeah.
Yeah, those are the ones that hurt because you know.
So it's probably a little bit obscure, but one that stands out is when I was in Italy a few years ago fishing for black bass or
largemouth bass.
Largemouth bass, and I only had one day, and we went out and we caught a heap of fish. It was summertime, so we got on a school and just slipped out and hammered them. And it was with who's now an FLW pro. His name is Jack Galelli. Really nice guy, really smart, switched on, and he'd been telling me all day we're going to get ready for this, hit this last spot right at the end of the day. And he's like, it's this big hump, we're going to flick the jig in there, and he's like, this is your chance to get a good fish. And for them, especially in summer, like a 4 to 5 is a really nice fish.
That's a good fish, because what most people don't realize, the ones that do know there are largemouth in Europe, don't realize they're all northern strain.
Okay.
So northern strain largemouth don't typically grow to the sizes of Florida strain, especially their climate. Much of it is colder. So your growing seasons are also shorter. So a 4 or 5 pound largemouth in Europe is kind of like the upper northern band of the United States, where that's also a really nice fish. It's all in context.
Right.
Yeah.
So we roll up this last spot of the day, this giant like hump. It was in like 30 feet of water, but it came up to like 5.
Lake Bolsena.
Yeah.
I was supposed to fish there
when
I went to Italy this year, but it was too windy.
Okay. So it's like a big open bowl lake, and it's like a volcanic lake, so it's quite clear. And he was waiting for the sun to get on the right angle, so through the shade the right way. And I was throwing this micro jig, so it was like, had this tiny little hook on it, and a tiny little bait. It was probably only like 2.5 inch, little craw I think it was. And we're throwing it up, and he's sort of telling me, he's like, first couple of casts are the key. He's like, the more casts we make, the probability of getting a good fish is going to fall. So we've made a few casts, and he was fishing a bigger jig as well, and I think about second or third cast, got that bite. And for someone that doesn't fish jigs really much at all, I sort of was really just relying on what I'd seen and watched, and people had told me about what it felt like, and sort of felt that tick, and then the line go tight. I hit him on spin rod, and he pretty much jumped straight away, and Jack is like, that's the fish. And it was about, he said sort of probably around 4, which to a lot of American guys watching it, it's probably not a big fish, but to someone that never caught one before and had been talked up all day, that was the one. And I got it pretty close to the boat, so probably 15 feet, and then it jumped, and then I made the mistake of, I just little split second pause in my spin, in my cranking, gone. This little hook just, and it was just like, especially not being able to have any, like, then it was like, that's it. We had like 1 or 2 more casts, but then it's like, okay, we're done for the day. Had an amazing day, but it was just like, that was just like the little sting. Couldn't go back out tomorrow, and it was just like,
That's a tough way to end a trip.
yeah,
Just makes you want to come back though.
Little sting. So I'll be back at some point.
Or you might have to just come back to the States, and we can scratch that largemouth bass off the list for both of you guys.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I thought it interesting. I've asked these guys in the past, like, you know, if you guys had the opportunity to come back to the States and fish with me with all the different things that you guys see me fishing for, whether it's muskie or salmon or smallmouth bass, what would you guys choose? And these guys actually answered with largemouth bass.
Sure.
Easily.
And that's fascinating to me. Why is that?
Well, I don't know. Seeing Carl over there all the time, Carl Jockinson over there all the time catching them would be one thing. But the fact that you can just catch them on everything, and I'd love to be up in the grass, you know, and throwing frogs and just trying all this different stuff. I don't know, you know, learning heaps of new techniques and
I think even when like we were kids, like I remember having this CD-ROM we used to play on the computer, and it was called Sega Championship Bass.
I had that.
And it
That was the best
freaking
game.
best game ever. And
I
you'd
caught
like,
a 17-pounder one day.
Oh, snap!
Man, that was pretty epic.
that was a good day.
That's cool.
What was your biggest?
Probably not that big.
Yeah.
But it was
That hard to catch
so,
that far.
and we've seen like for the little bits of American television we used to have when we were growing up. They'd put the classic on normal television.
Right.
So we got to see that. And then as we grew up, and then like YouTube become more available, and seeing the tournaments, and even reading, I can't remember the magazine now, but one of the really prolific bass magazines, you could buy a subscription and they'd send it over like really, really cheap. And just reading all the different articles and all the techniques and how, I suppose, far behind we were. Like at that point, like spinnerbait didn't even really exist yet. Like I can remember when spinnerbaits sort of gained traction here, and bassmen were like one of the very first on the scene to make something that was a real, standout Australian designed spinnerbait that was going to hold up to our fish, and we started using them.
We had to order them, remember? We had to get them online because none of the shops would have them.
You had to order direct through Glenn. And it was just, we'd see people on the water and they're like, what the hell is that wire thing? And then they'd also say, what the hell is that thing on the front of your boat? And it's like, oh, that's an electric motor.
Wow.
So that was like really early on, where most people here would either troll like a crankbait or a hard body bait.
They call them hard bodies here.
Yeah. Or bait fish. So not really many people cast lures then.
Flick.
Or flick.
How to speak Australian.
And we started out throwing hard bodies. Like that's because that's what we had, and then we moved into spinnerbaits, and then it evolved into topwater. But a lot of those things were really bits of knowledge we got from you guys. And still to this day, like there's so many techniques that are just not even touched here.
From the bass fishing culture.
Yeah, that you guys have been doing for 25 years and slay the bass on. We're talking about this trip, how we're thinking that an umbrella rig could absolutely hammer them. And not just here, but back home as well. And they're things that just don't really get spoken about, don't get used. You can't buy them. You've got to buy them from the States.
Right.
So that combined with, all that sort of childhood nostalgia, and then just the crazy amount of different ways to catch them, right on the big bait, right through to a jig or a topwater and then in this much water.
Yeah.
Or flipping one in the grass. Like I can remember watching the first flipping video I ever saw. And I was like, how the hell is there even water in there, let alone a fish? And look like these guys are throwing a bait into like their lawn, and then they're pulling out these giant fish with all this weed and stuff, and it just looks super cool. So.
Yeah, even after all of the experiences I've had in the last few years especially, the bass fishing is still by far, in my opinion, the most dynamic because you can fish them in an infinite amount of environments and just as many infinite choices as far as technique and your fishing philosophy and how you want to try to catch them. That's the beauty of it.
And how much they move. Like Josh said, we follow Carl a lot on the tournament scene, and I've watched a lot of the live content, and it's just mind-blowing to be like, okay, the bass were in 10 feet on ledges one day, and then the next day conditions are the same and they're just gone.
Oh
it's
yeah.
just like,
smallmouth are notorious for that.
So for us, like that's, most of the fish we fish, like Murray Cod and things, they don't really disappear. They might close down, but they don't just vanish.
Yeah.
Which seems to be an interesting challenge to go and take up one day.
Yeah. Because everything that we do fishing-wise, I feel is a big puzzle. And piecing that puzzle is how we try to find the success in capturing these fish, but I think there are different levels to these puzzles. Generally, the saltwater fisheries, as complex as they are with tides and lunar phases, this, that, and a third, it seems like the puzzle pieces are fewer and they fit together in a more consistent fashion over the course of a span of time, versus like when you introduce pressure as a factor and catch and release fisheries where these fish are getting an education or a chance to learn and evolve and adapt or die, that really complicates that level of the puzzle even further. And I feel like the bass fishing, especially on a lot of the popular reservoirs back in the States, whether it's Clear Lake in California, whether it's Lake Fork in Texas, whether it's Gunnersville in Alabama or Okeechobee in Florida, like those fisheries just get obliterated. So you really have to take your presentation and your thought process and your attention to detail to the next level. and execute, because your opportunities are few and far between.
That's why I like barramundi fishing so much, because when you finally do crack it, right, and it's July, next month, that code has changed and it's like start again.
Gotcha.
You know,
And
it just fuels the fire.
It keeps it fresh.
Yeah. And then you got to go try to work it all out again.
And you can't chase bites either.
Right.
Like you're saying, you know, you could go, someone could say, oh, they've been hammering them in this section of the river on this bait, doing this, and you could go the next day, or someone's chasing you a week later, and it's like,
Done.
Go for your life.
They're gone.
They are gone.
They're 10k that way.
Yeah, it's wild, man.
Cool fish.
So tell me more about why big bass dreams for you guys. Because you guys don't even have black bass here in Australia, but you guys are drawn to the brand. You guys have kicked off something really special, in my opinion, down here, from what we started in the States, along with the guys in Europe, along with the guys in Canada, and even in Japan. And it's really cool for me to see like-minded people come together, and you know, these are opportunities for us to mesh these experiences and ideas and go out there and try to become better at what we do, and that's chase the fish of a lifetime. What is it about Big Bass Dreams for you guys that rings a bell?
Well, for me, I love an adventure. And then when you came over here for the first time, you know, showing you around the country and all that stuff, mate, I love that. I love the adventure just as much or more than the fishing. And then if we can go catch some big ones while we're doing it, I'm a happy man, mate.
Yeah, we've been pretty happy this past year.
Oh yeah.
It's been a good time. It's been a good time. I think for me, like, it's just different. But it's the different that I kind of like. As in, you know, everything from the music's different. It feels a little bit more age appropriate for me, or for us, I guess. You know, it's not some old guys in a boat, you know, not, you know, the Bill Dance special, which I do like a bit of Bill Dance, but I just like the
Somebody
vibe.
call my playlist techno rap this week. He will go unnamed.
He risked it for the business.
But I was like, what? Techno rap? Like, what the hell is that?
That would be an interesting genre.
So that was a, you know, generation beyond us. And then if you brought up Sega bass fishing to, you know, his son or your brother Mitch, they'd be like, Sega, what's that?
What's a Sega?
Yeah. So yeah, totally. It's just, I think it's because that we can draw those like-minded people together.
And I think that's what, like, I think the evolvement of that in the last 12 months, it seems like it's accelerated a lot. Like, it seems like you're saying that there's the Canada guys, there's the Spain guys, the French guys, the guys in Japan. Like, it's really, you know, gone through the roof. And even though we haven't met any of these guys, you can sort of just tell straight away that they're all the same.
Yeah, we're all the
Cod
same.
fishermen, they're, you know,
Yeah.
right into it too.
Exactly. So, you know, as fishermen, we're all pretty much the same.
Yeah.
For sure. Even today, I was telling you, like, one of the boys from Italy was like, now I just need to go catch a Murray Cod.
Yeah.
I bet you he didn't even know what a Murray Cod was a couple years ago. I didn't until Carl told me about them, and I was like, hold on, what? This thing looks like a bass and grows to like 6 feet long and lives in freshwater? And they eat topwater?
Yeah.
I'm in.
Exactly.
Yeah, man.
Exactly.
Well, very cool. And I also noticed while we were here, like, I got to spend a lot of time with my new Uncle Pete, your dad. Really fun dude, really amazing, gracious host, and a great fisherman, a passionate fisherman, incredibly skilled with a gulp prawn, mind you. But we just had a short conversation at the house about, like, he's at a point now where, like, the fishing really doesn't do it for him like it used to. And it kind of goes back to that old saying where they say things skip a generation at times. And I've seen that in fishing especially. I've seen some of the best fishermen I know, their kids have nothing to do with it. They don't even care, no interest. And I'm just like, do you know who your dad is in this space? But he's a hammer.
He's the man, yeah.
And you care less.
Yeah.
And I don't see that to that degree with your dad, but I definitely see more of that sickness in you two than in your dad. So what is it about the fishing for you guys that does it above all else? Because I know you like to hunt as well.
Like I said, for me, it's all the adventure. We just travelled 250k off the coast, sleeping in at the bottom of a tinny. Mate, I love that. You know, just you're roughing it, but they're the ones that you feel a bit of pain, you push through. They're the ones that you'll remember forever. And new water, I love fishing new water.
Yeah.
You know, the first time we walk into a spot, you know, we get on the bit of bloody, you know, looking into it, getting on the maps, thinking the fish should be here. We walk in, and then bang, you catch them. Well, that's pretty good, you know, that you worked it out yourself. But then the next time you go in there, it's still really good, but it's not as good as the first time. And then the time you go in again, like I said, it's still good, but it's not as good as the last time. Finding like what's around the next bend is probably what keeps me coming, you know, just wanting to keep going, find new ground, and just keep exploring.
100%. And working it out for yourself.
Working it out for ourselves.
Is more fun than catching the fish. I think.
Yes.
Is that it's working it out is 95%, and the fish capture is the 5.
Yeah, that's the validation.
That's
at the end of it.
Right. And you know, that doesn't necessarily mean that you've worked it out or anything like that, but it's just like, oh, I think this place could hold fish, or could hold a big fish. And it may take a long time to get that validation, but when you get it, that's where the enjoyment factor is. And we talk about this all the time when we go fishing, is that if we go and fish a dam or a certain river or whatever, lake, and we fish it for a few times in a row, even if we catch fish, if we start to lose that enjoyment factor, we go, yeah, let's just go somewhere else.
Yeah.
Leave the fish biting, because as soon as it stops being fun, there's no point doing it anymore.
Mm-hmm.
We are not professional fishermen. We're there for fun. This is on our downtime or our off time. You know, we want to be with a smile on our face all day, every day while we're doing it. Otherwise, what's the point? So as soon as that little bit of enjoyment factor rolls out, we go, okay, let's go and do something completely different. And it's still usually Murray Cod, but Josh mixes it up with a bit of hunting. But we'll go from really big lake to little river to hiking to you know, fishing just a different style of lake.
Yeah, or a whole new
or just go and explore something.
Yeah.
So the adventure part of the fishing is what makes the fishing stand out amongst the other things you guys like to do. Because you just did an insane run. How many Ks was that?
100 Ks.
That's like 60 miles. This fool ran 60 miles for fun. Running is not fun to me.
But it's
not for me either.
But I think it's the challenge, and it's like
Yeah.
it's the I want to see what can happen. You know, see if you can do whatever it is. You know, whether it's like the running thing or fishing, is that it's you can't. Both those things, what they have in common is that you can't buy them. Is that you can throw all the money in the world, you can't go and run 100 Ks. You got to put the work in. Fishing, I think, is largely the same. Is that everyone wants to go and catch the meter barra, the meter cod, the 10-pound largemouth.
They can buy the tools, whether it's the truck, the boats, the graphs, the lures, the rods. But if you don't know how to piece those puzzle pieces together,
buy a plane ticket, mate. You almost got the barra. You got the meter cod just by buying the plane ticket.
But you got to put in the work.
But for most people, you just got lucky.
You have to put in the work. So that's what I like about it. It's the fact that it's the leveler. Is that, you know, and people can come and fish in like a $100,000 boat, or they can fish out of a kayak or walk the banks, and they've got the same amount of chance as everybody else. So
That's
it's sort of you know, it's got a little bit of something for everyone.
Nice, man. Nice. Yeah. Why don't you guys tell me more about where you see big bass streams in Australia? Because I think some people might be confused looking from the outside in, because initially what we've done down here was very cod focused. And this is our first trip as a group up in the northern part of the country, targeting Barramundi as a primary target. But gosh, wait till you guys watch this Risk It for the Biscuit series. It is mayhem across the board. A lot of fun, a lot of laughs, and an incredible amount of new experiences. But it's not only just about specifically cod, not only about Barramundi, at least not to me. What is Big Bass Streams Australia to someone that might not understand?
You can answer that one.
You want me to take this one? I think, like you're saying, you know, Big Bass Streams started out as bass, obviously. Makes it pretty easy to work out. But I think what it's evolved to now, or at least how I see it, is that it's just big anything dreams.
Yeah.
Is that it doesn't matter if you're crappie fishing, reddy fishing, trout fishing, barra fishing. It's just we want to go and catch whatever it is, but the biggest one that's there.
And why is that?
Because that's where the challenge is.
Mm-hmm.
It's the gold medal.
That's it. Tell them, boys. Tell them.
Yeah. So that's I think what it's become, and I suppose Big Cod Dreams as part of Big Bass Dreams Australia was just the natural starting point, because that's what we spend 98% of our time doing.
Yeah, we live right there.
That's what our,
heart of it.
I suppose, passion is, or that's what we love to do. But I think that in time, it'll evolve to all those things, and hopefully we can sort of build a community, because this is not about us, it's not about you, it's about everybody else, and about everyone else going to chase these giant fish. You know, and a big cod dream or a big bass dream doesn't mean a metre Murray cod. It can mean a 60 centimetre cod for some little kid. You know, because I can still remember the first time I saw a 63.5 centimetre Murray cod.
That's a big fish.
Yeah.
You freak out when
My
little
grandpa
kids.
caught this thing trolling, and I was like screaming like you when you caught your metre 21. It was the biggest thing in the world, and it's this long.
Yeah.
When you're a little kid, that thing is like,
Perspective is everything,
Yeah.
man. And I think we even us are guilty of that at times,
oh, yeah.
right? Because we've got the benefit of living a bunch of experiences that a lot of people may not have. So we take things for granted continuously, and I'm guilty of that myself. But if you really just take a step back and look back to a young Cal and seeing a fish of that magnitude for the first time, that's a freaking monster.
Yeah. And I think like the good thing about social media, but the bad thing about social media, is that it makes people think that the dream can't be, you know, your first spinnerbait fish or your first topwater fish, or, you know, even a first small fish, legal fish. Doesn't matter what the PB is. Because they see so much content about people just putting up the biggest fish they ever caught, or
Yeah, and I think that's an easy trap for someone that's relatively new to any fishing scene to
100%.
fall into. Because they want to instantly validate themselves as anglers.
yeah. So it sucks the enjoyment away from them.
It
They
can.
think that, yeah.
And I think it's important for them to know that it's okay to just enjoy the process and the growth and each level of achievement, whether it's a 2-pound bass, the first one on topwater. I remember every fish I caught on a new technique for the first time. It didn't matter if it was big, but I could scratch it off the list. Like, well, I caught a fish on a fluke now.
Tick.
Yep. Now I have confidence fishing a fluke.
100%.
And it just continues to evolve. What they don't see is like I've been doing this myself for 27 years. It's a long time.
That's right. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So going back to your question, I think, you know, Big Bass Dreams Australia is going to be, or I envisage it to be, you know, a community or a sub-community of all the other different species in the country. You know, with guys who are like us, you know, they just love going and fishing whatever the species is, and they just pour everything into it, sort of borderline obsessed with it, whether it's, again, Murray Cod or whether it's redfin or whatever it is, doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Big coral trout dreams. Why the hell not?
Oh yeah.
So, and you know, and you guys are doing the same thing, big musky dreams, big pike dreams.
Yeah. And I think this week is a pure example of the good that can come from focusing on the commonality of our love for fishing, even though a couple of the guys that we fish with this week, I mean, your dad, one of them, they're number one from 2 different generations than us, but they're also completely different background from where I'm from. Right? I'm an American. I'm from the city. I'm this, that, and a third. But at the end of the day, I'm a fisherman, and so are they. And that alone really was strong
them
enough
together.
to bring us together and focus on the good things.
Yeah.
And I think overall, as a fishing community, whether it's regionally, like here in Australia, California, in the States, or whatever, overall, I think the fishing community could do a better job at doing that and focusing on the good things and that positive vibe. Because we see it all over the place, you know, even here now, right?
Yeah.
Social media is developing different facets of the fishing culture, good and bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're our own worst enemies sometimes.
Totally.
We are all part of the same, where sometimes we treat each other like the enemy, which is probably the wrong way to look at it, you know?
Well, since we're on that topic, you guys are old enough now to remember what fishing culture here was before social media, right? You're talking about the TV, watching the classic, reading magazines. Do you guys feel it's better now with social media, or was it better back then without it?
Well, I spent 5 years just working in a tackle shop or thereabouts. And I think that was the social media of now, in the sense that you'd have like a brag board or a board of guys would come in and they'd show you their photos.
That's right.
Things like that. So it was still sharing content and sharing photos, but it was slow and inefficient, really. But I think, and I've heard a lot of perspective on social media, and a lot of people tend to shun it or dislike it a little bit and say
In fishing specifically, or
yeah,
in other?
in fishing,
Okay.
but in other things as well. But a lot of people think it does more harm than good. I feel like I've met and created, like, got to know people that are very similar to me or to us, I suppose, that I would never have met any other way. For better or for worse. But not just that, like Australian guys as well, because you follow along and you sort of quickly work out who's very similar. What guys are putting in the work, which guys are using sort of cutting edge techniques, or at least cutting edge for us. And I think that's a good thing. And I think people are learning from social media faster than they did in the past. I think for new anglers especially, there's a lot of bad things to take out of social media, like we're saying, with destroying perceptions on things and taking some enjoyment out of it. But it's teaching you, and YouTube as well. I suppose YouTube's part of social media, but you don't have to go and snap off 10 lures and throw the wrong line for a year and work out what hooks need to go on this bait to make it swim right. You can work that all out before you've made a cast. If you put in some research and you can guide yourself pretty quickly, I think. And I'm not saying you have to go and buy the exact lure that some guys got tied on in a big photo, but if you're seeing a trend of guys catching them all on a spinner bait, or all on a soft swim bait, or a hard swim bait, glide bait, top water, whatever it is, you can sort of start to narrow it down to what is a common theme that works. You might say, okay, for Murray Cod, 5-inch paddle style top water seems to be catching a lot of fish in February, which is our summer. So you can sort of, instead of trying everything else, for a starting point, if you're a beginner, you can sort of just jump straight to that and be confident that you're really in with a good chance. So some people dislike that. I think that's a good thing. I think if it gets more people into fishing and more people catching fish sooner, I think more people will stay fishing or stay addicted to fishing, as opposed to grinding it out for 6 months and catching zip and then going, I hate fishing. Fishing sucks.
Unfortunately, I feel like there's a really big population of every fishing community that is honestly a bit selfish, right? They only want themselves to experience the special things that fishing can provide. They feel entitled to the bodies of water they put in so much time on. Yeah. And they really don't want to share that with anybody else. But I've seen it here now, and there's actually a really strong push to grow your Murray Cod fishery.
Oh, yeah.
It's incredible.
The social media has made our cod scene just explode. Like, everybody is into it. Young kids, seeing young kids getting dropped off down the river, walking the banks like what we used to. But back when we were kids, like, fishing wasn't cool at all. Like, no one was going along, I think. But and what that's done for the cod as well is so much more money is getting put into fishing licenses and stuff. The restocking and everything like that. Big fisheries do such a good job. The cod fishing now is better than what it used to be when no one else was fishing it. Like
even in your dad's generation, even in Keithy's generation, from the stories they've both been telling me. Your dad was telling me last night when you guys went to bed that, man, if he caught 2 cod that were like 500 size in a week, he was a cod king.
Yeah. And what it also does is, so many more people are fishing now, poachers can't get away with what they used to get away with because there's so many people walking the rivers now.
Yeah, totally. And ultimately, it should be an eye-opener for someone that might be from that perspective. And I can speak on that because I used to have that perspective, right? When I was younger, much, much more immature. How far that maturity has grown, that's debatable. But there's been some growth. But if you realize that it's actually a benefit for your own selfish needs to have more access, better fishing, bigger fish. You actually need this sport to grow, and that takes new blood coming in, and we need to embrace them and teach them how to have a good time. Otherwise, none of that stuff that you guys are talking about continues to happen because the funding dries up, participation drops off, and now all of a sudden all the forward momentum and these cod getting bigger and bigger where an idiot from American could come and catch one, those opportunities disappear worldwide, and especially to the guys at home. Like, it's real easy to be mad because now there's 3 new guys fishing your lake. But like, man, like if you ran into that same dude at the bar and you're like, oh, you like to fish? 100%. Oh, hey, did we just become new best friends?
Exactly. Exactly.
And the other thing we have in our favour too is there's, like I was saying, we've got so many different river systems through Victoria and New South Wales, and 90% of them have got Murray Cod in them. That most people are fishing the 10% of the spots. Like, there is so much work, so we just keep going to a new spot and have it all to yourself. So social media, it doesn't really...
I think that's what you were saying about experience, and I've heard you speak a lot about experience in all kinds of fishing, and what experience teaches you, and or I suppose a little bit that we've learned is that, you know, there's not big fish in this GPS coordinate on this lake, and then if someone sees it on social media that they're going to go to the lake and catch your fish. If it was that easy, I would go to the lake and catch 5 or 6 meter fish every day that I know live on that log and that log and that log, and it's like you may never see that fish again.
Right.
So it's like it's. You know,
they call them snags, by the way. Another how to speak Australian piece.
And you know, I'm not saying like you go and advertise to the world that, you know, or go and catching them at X lake or X river and whatever, but 5 years ago, if you wanted to come over and video for 2 weeks on everywhere we were fishing, I would have been like, probably not. You can come and fish, but I don't really want to be videoing it. But now we've, like I say, we've realised that it's like it doesn't matter, because it's not about the spot, because it's about sort of the location, but it's the strategy and where timing. There's so many other things that go into it, that it's not that this log on this part of the bank is the only place that holds big fish. You know,
people definitely need to get over that mental hurdle that it's spot oriented or it's magical lure oriented. It's really a culmination of thousands of different variables and making the right decisions. It's really what it comes down to.
It is, completely. And we're lucky enough, like it seems from what you've said and what I've seen in the bass world, is that you guys have a different challenge in the sense that if someone wants to go and catch a 14-pound bass, there's only certain places that seem to have that, from what you've told me. Where here, if someone wants to go and catch a meter Murray cod, go and fish anywhere where they are, because they exist in nearly every place where Murray cod exist.
That's a special thing. That's kind of what I've seen with the muskie fishing as well. There's so many more muskies in multiple bodies of water over the 50-inch mark, so that's their meter. You know, that's actually much bigger than a meter. I forgot what that is, because
I think 50 inches is like,
it's like 136 or something.
Something like that.
Yeah, because I had a 52-inch. Actually, I had a 53.5-inch muskie that was like 136 or 7 or something like that. So yeah, it's a big animal, but they just exist over a much greater region, so they're not easier to catch even with that factor, but you know, much more accessible.
And how's their culture? Is their culture similar? Is it?
Oh, they're just as messed up as cod fishermen, as trophy largemouth fishermen, but those guys are extra. Yeah, because they typically don't do anything else. They might walleye fish to eat fish, but like they don't care about bass. They just want muskies.
Right.
And when we think about the fish that you came over here and caught, how long had they not been caught for? Like 15 years, wasn't it?
Well, 15 years it's said.
Without the tag didn't come in, but you know.
Right, which is crazy.
It's insane.
Yeah, that's a whole nother topic.
They're everywhere. They're just hard to catch.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, people might get this weird perception that, oh man, every time Oliver comes to Australia, they catch big cod and they catch this and that and the third, and we do, but gosh, it is not easy, man.
Had a good run.
Yeah, we're definitely fortunate to experience what we've experienced, but it's definitely not easy.
But it still looks better on social media than what it has been. Like, how many fish did you catch in the first trip?
Oh
Do you
gosh, I really don't. Let's see, one landed, right?
Landed.
Like 1, 2, 3, maybe 4 or 3 even. I really don't know.
It was 77,
Meter 21.
79, meter 21, and then a 50 something.
Yeah,
And that's for fishing hard
for 12 days.
12 days straight, every day,
Yeah.
for 4 bites, or 4 fish.
So we averaged between 3 of us fishing every day for those 12 or 13 days, just under 1 fish caught per day between the 3 of us. That represents a lot of hours, a lot of casts.
100%,
Yeah,
100%. And even this trip,
crazy.
donut mayhem.
Right. Absolutely, man.
We just got you out of the boat, mate. That's all we needed.
Yeah, probably.
Well, let's jump into this trip a little bit. Why don't you guys tell everybody, watching this and listening to this, what to expect from the for the Biscuit tour and where that even came from? Give us the overall scope, right? Like what brought us here? What? Just tell them. Like people are like, risk it for the biscuit. What?
The old man lives up here at Boy. He's lived up here for the last 12 years. And for us, this is our destination to come and experience some pretty crazy fishing. And his good mate Matty, the first day, good mate Matty took us out and knew every time we went to cast into the snags, we weren't letting it sink down enough. And he's just every time, mate, you got to risk it for the biscuit to get in there. To catch those fish, you got to risk it for the biscuit. And we love that. So we pretty much, for the next few days, we went out fishing. We were just saying that to each other, and and up here
It's stuck.
It's stuck. That's just how it happens.
So we had to risk it for the biscuit
Every time.
every time.
That was the theme. Ongoing.
And we lost a lot of biscuits.
Oh boy. And if you guys see some of the footage and what swims in these lakes, or I'm sorry, what swims in this water, you'll see why we didn't go get the biscuits.
Biscuits can stay there.
Oh, I'm good.
Yeah.
I'm good.
But I think too though, like as far as up here goes, when you first came over, I remember you telling me that everyone says, oh, you're going to chase Barramundi. And that was when we just did Murray Cod only. So it sort of felt logical to say, well, we've got a contact or an in to go and be able to chase wild Barramundi, which Barramundi for everyone else is like one of our 2, I guess, unique and iconic species. And to be able to go and chase a wild Barramundi is typically pretty hard to do because it's really remote, and for us to, like, say, drive there, chase wild Barramundi, it's like a 2 or 3 day drive. Dam barra are a little bit different, but for the wild Barramundi, like you've seen, even to get into here, it would take us like 4 days to drive here or to this end of the country, and then to be able to get to the really good water, even assuming we
Already knew where it was.
knew where it was, is 250 kilometers each way. Like, so to be able to have those contacts there that we can go and attempt to chase a wild barra or a fish of that class, along with the coral trout and the queenfish or the jacks and everything else that was in between, is not something that's everyone has access to, and we're lucky enough to have a little bit of access to that. So it made sense to extend the invitation, get you back and see if we could do it, and we got pretty damn close.
Yeah, we
Pretty
did.
damn close, which is amazing, and I'm not sure if we got it on camera, but
We got it about that close.
yeah. But Matty was saying, right, that there's guys that live here in this town that have never caught a barra in the 90s. So
90 centimeters.
90 centimeters, sorry. Yeah, so to be able to come here and have guys that, as the tackle shop lady said to us, is one of the best barra fishermen in this area, to take us out is really a luxury and a privilege, really.
Oh yeah.
Just to be able to even get a shot at one of those fish. Sometimes they come off, that's just fishing, but that's pretty special, that's pretty amazing. Because we could have, been left to our own devices, I'm pretty confident we probably wouldn't have got a shot at a fish of that class.
And that's where the beauty of bringing these like-minded people together really excels, because he's put in the time to find these windows of opportunity and locations to where we can actually come in with a different perspective, different techniques, different mindset, and help us shorten that learning curve of going out there and like driving 70 kilometers that way to go explore this system. Like, oh man, this is not the right class of fish. And not knowing, oh, maybe the system that we fished the day before gets heavily commercial fished, and you know, the big barra are gill netted out of there. So that definitely is the benefit of embracing other fishermen with other backgrounds and really helping each other continue to win. Because I think we opened both your, you know, Uncle Pete and Maddie's, you know, perspectives, and like, oh man, like this crap that these guys are doing, it kind of worked. Yeah, we hooked the 4 or 5 biggest fish of the week using our baits, but whatever. Although they did whoop my monkey ass
On the score sheet.
on the score sheet as far as quantity goes. Like, man, I mean, they were just hammering fish, as you guys are going to see throughout the series. And, you know, they were busting my balls pretty heavy about it, but that's okay.
As soon as they started that on this trip, I'm like, you're going to regret that. You're going to regret that. Don't poke the bear.
Yeah, and they just don't know that I live off of that, man. I feed off of that, like that doubt and that, you know, that little bit of shit talking. Like, okay, go.
Where's your GoPro now?
Oh man, what an incredible adventure.
Yeah.
We're already planning the next one.
Yeah, we
It's
are.
a good sign that it was a good trip,
100%.
and we're gonna it's gonna feel even better after another week and all these bites go away and sunburn
Jeez,
gills
man,
and
the bugs up here are not a joke.
everything up here.
They've got biting flies. What do you guys call them? March flies that are kind of like the horse flies back at home. They hurt, you bleed instantly. And then they got these little black midgies.
No seeing.
We call them no-see-ums in some parts of the States. They're just super small black freaking insects that actually hurt. You can actually feel them bite.
Yeah.
Like, I think I just felt one right now. And then when we're trying to sleep out in the tinnies, surrounded by crocodiles, you just hear freaking mozzies, as they call them here. It's like, when is this gonna stop, man? Like, we're trying to go to sleep with like layers of this freaking DEET-infested bug spray and like SPF 3000 because it's like super hot. We don't have the what's it called, the bimini top on our boat because we just did it. Oh man, it was, the conditions were brutal, but the rewards were high, and that's why this is the damn Risk It for the Biscuit series, man.
100%.
Through and through,
That's how you get the biscuits.
from beginning to end. What kind of footage can these guys expect to see on the Big Bass Dreams YouTube channel from this adventure?
We got catching cooks, we got a lot of bust-offs, a lot of sharks.
We got drone crashes followed by amazing drone footage. Thank you.
Dead fish.
Self-proclaimed amazing drone footage.
Got dead fish.
Sharks, everything with teeth that you can think of.
Oh,
Crocodiles, underwater footage, turtles,
couple big barra,
couple of big barra,
couple big question marks because we never got them up to the boat either.
big jewies, jewfish,
Ah, big Jew
Big
fish.
goldies, some big queenfish,
GT.
a GT, a good GT for up here.
Some
We
of
ticked
the
a lot of boxes.
I had
Oh, yeah.
some of the most epic saltwater, topwater fishing that I've experienced, and I didn't even land most of them. They were just punching these things out of the water and just blasting it like I've only seen a couple times, like in Costa Rica, you know, a couple times on the big bluefin at home. But the crazy thing out here is I just never knew what the hell was gonna eat that thing,
That's
man.
what's so
You won't
amazing about
either.
up here. Even when we're barramundi fishing, is that, you know, you hook a giant fish. It's like, is this a giant barra? Is this a massive jewfish that's come inland? Is it a
groper.
big groper? You don't know. Is
Yeah.
it a threadfin salmon, which we didn't get a shot at.
We got a bunch of blue
But you just
salmon.
don't know.
one.
Yeah, we got a bunch of blues, but you saw one.
Yeah, remember when we were in here?
Oh, I had a
saw one?
chaser.
Oh yeah, first
Yeah,
day.
yeah.
First day.
And Dad caught a little shreddy.
Okay.
They were there.
Such a weird ass fish.
Yeah. But you know, do you think that as far as like the volume of action or bites for you? Like, where did that rank on, your fishing?
I mean, considering
career?
the smallest bait I fished was 6 inches the whole week. Well, actually, I fished a Canicerus, which is like a 4 or 5 inch vibe bait. No, it's a 6 inch.
Yeah,
It's a 6 inch
pretty
vibe bait. I got quite a bit of engagement.
What were you expecting when you come up? Were you expecting what? Yeah.
I don't know.
What did you think?
I knew we were gonna have some kind of Barramundi encounters. I'm trying to better grasp the context of the wild barra versus the dam barra, which I'm about to leave and go experience with Ash and Ian Miller for the next week. So that, from what I understand, is a whole different world. And I can absolutely see why a wild specimen of Barramundi is more revered than a similar sized fish from a dam.
It seems that way. Like, we've never done any dam barramundi fishing, but it seems as though the average size is quite high from what we see. Again, social media, so it could be a misconception, but it seems as though 80 to 90 is kind of like an average. Where here, 80 to 90 is a really good fish, or anywhere, I suppose. Would you say? 80 to 90 wild barra.
80, 90 is a beautiful fish.
Yeah.
So you're saying people should be equipped with really solid nets with strong netting material here, and bigger hoops.
In the
Just
dam.
don't put
longer
them back
nets.
in the water. Once you've got them in the boat, get your photo
If Ash
and
has
then let
that
it
rubber
go.
net when you turn up tomorrow, it's out.
Yeah. Nope. You saw what happened to Bluey.
Bluey gone.
No more. No mas.
Rest in peace, Bluey.
Oh man. Well, very cool, boys. What are you guys most proud of thus far with what you guys have done with Big Bass Streams Australia? Because I don't know if you guys realize it or not, but like from an outside looking in, I think you guys have done an incredible job at building something really cool.
Well, I think before we all started on this, we were certainly not wanting to really create a profile or trying to be on video or anything like that.
We
And
didn't want it about us. That
Yeah,
was
it's
the
not
first
about
thing I
us, and it's
said.
still not, and it never will be. And we had always been concerned about that misconception that we came across, like we thought we knew everything, or we think we're self-proclaimed heroes, and it's the opposite of that. If you watch enough of some of this footage, you'll quickly realise we are no heroes. And we just wanted to sort of build something that, I suppose extended that reach to guys that are like-minded, and I suppose the feedback so far has been, pretty positive, man. So
Yeah.
if people are liking what we're doing, I guess that's a good sign, and just keep trying to do that and try and build out the community and get people involved any way we can, whether it's, sharing fish data about Murray Cod growth rates or, whatever. Whatever we can. But we're just here to have a good time, have fun. If we stop having fun, we'll stop being here.
For sure, man. And I think it's important for you guys to know, like, some of the guys that are from that older generation, guys like Glenn Casey, guys like Ian Miller, they respect what you guys have done so far, and so do I. And keep up the good work, man. You guys are doing it for the right reasons. And
Cheers, mate.
yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Appreciate that.
And what kind of legacy? Look at this little
Yeah.
bastard!
Don't leave him
That's
on
a
there.
freaking midget! Die!
I'm getting smashed.
Oh, dude, we cannot wait to wrap this up.
Risk it for the video.
We are risking it for the biscuit one last time. But at the end of the day, what kind of legacy do you want to leave through Big Bass Streams Australia when it's all said and done?
I don't know, man. I hadn't even thought about that.
Yeah, me neither. Just having a good time.
Yeah, have a good time and something that people want to be a part of, and yeah.
It's a great answer.
That's
Great
it.
answer.
That's really it. If we could sort of share experiences with everybody through some of this video content, and it's like we're saying, it's a lot of people don't have the luxury, and all of us are extremely privileged to be able to do these things. And for those that can't, if they can feel like they can come along for the ride a little bit, well, I think that's pretty cool. I think that's pretty cool. It's kind of like Sega Bassmaster from today.
Right.
Good graphics.
True.
Good graphics.
We're trying to be better at that for you guys. We really are. Okay, with all that being said, if you guys are able to go back and give a younger version of yourself advice, especially in the fishing space, because I've seen such a growth in the both of you of your mindset, your tackle, and just everything that continues to evolve, and where you guys started from Sega Genesis Bass to where you are today. Like that represents a big jump. What would you tell that younger version of yourself?
Big baits, thick lines, heavy weights.
Ah, snap! You ain't wrong. The man ain't wrong.
If I could go back to when I first started chasing barra, well, when I moved to Darwin, constantly chasing it every weekend,
Uh-huh.
I'd tighten that drag. Do not take them easy like I do with the Murray Cod. Do not take them easy. Get them in there. Get them to the net.
Yeah.
That's what I would be telling myself.
Okay, that's a solid piece of advice.
That's
Yeah.
a good answer. That's a good answer. I don't know. I don't know. I feel like I've just enjoyed the process, man. Like, you know, getting hooks straightened on friggin' little jitterbugs that had these stock like paper hooks, basically.
Those things are terrible.
That's all part of the fun, I think, is that it's the learning curve. It's, you know, it'd be great to go, oh, okay, just jump back to when you're 5 years old and go and throw a swim bait around in lakes and catch massive fish. But you're missing, I think you're just missing so much.
Yeah.
Is that, like, how many years did we, like, just throw, like, a actual worm, not a plastic worm, like a
I did.
and harvested bait and yabbies, which you got to do some of. And,
Yeah.
you know, we did that for years, and it's like the whole process, and I'm not saying one's right and one's wrong, it's just all of it's fun. So it's like, go and do all of it.
Yeah.
And if you find that yourself get to a point where it's like, oh, I just love throwing these monster lures around, but if you don't. If you like to go and just sit and fish some worms and catch a heap of little fish and whatever, then go do that. Just, if it stops being fun, which I suppose is the theme of this thing, is it, don't do it. Do something else, man.
I think people are really confused when they see me go from chasing a really big, you know, trophy fish, and then the next thing they see me is like giggling like a little kid catching Pacific mackerel for bait, or flying fish with a butterfly net in the dark, or yellow bellies, or, you know, crappie.
Yeah.
Like it takes me back to those early days and just enjoying the process.
And it's not that serious, man. It's just fishing.
Really,
It's just fishing.
seriously, at the end of the
Have a
day.
good time.
You know, so that's what I'd say. Just enjoy it. Enjoy all of it. Enjoy the process.
That's great, man.
Hopefully we still got a lot to learn. A lot of new
do.
experiences.
Man, everybody does. I've learned an incredible amount this week, to where, like, when I come back, I'm probably gonna have to check in another bag. Because I felt so shorthanded after seeing some of the scenarios unfold and learning from our failures, because we had plenty of failures this week as well. But that's the fun of it, because when we come back, make that adjustment, and it becomes a success, it's like, yes, I got your ass.
Oh, it's all changed, and now that whole bag's
Oh
useless.
yeah.
Or just
Need
even
another bag.
Or just even bigger things come and wreck a stick bait this long.
Oh
And it's like,
gosh.
oh god.
Now what do we do? Yeah, this place is wild, man. It's cool. I look over here on this little jetty here, and there's a guy or a bloke fishing, you know, probably after a day of work.
With a handline.
It's dope. Fishing
all
is
about,
dope, man. Fishing in
all about.
Australia is dope. Fishing for Barramundi is dope. Fishing around crocs, even though it's dangerous, is dope. And just enjoy the process and keep those positive vibes going. Subscribe to the channel if you guys are watching this on YouTube. Continue to listen to this Big Bass Streams podcast. We are going to bring you guys guests that I feel are influential in multiple ways. It's been fun for me personally to watch you guys open up and be yourselves in front of these things more, because it's not easy.
Took a bit.
Yeah, it's not easy, man. And I hope you guys continue on that path, because you guys have a lot to give to the audience and to the community and to the culture. And it's going to lead the way to more adventures and more silly names for video series, and a lot more fun.
More sunken drones.
Oh, yeah. Some barfing.
Almost lost a couple of rods this trip too.
Oh, yeah.
I've done it all.
I did it once. You did that
I got
too.
the trifecta.
If you guys haven't already, subscribe to the Big Bass Streams channel. We have a Big Bass Streams Australia playlist. Within that playlist, we might have a secondary playlist for the Risk It for the Biscuit series. Where else can they follow you guys? Obviously on the gram and on Facebook, right? So look up Big Bass Streams Australia. Those of you guys that are looking for Big Bass Streams Australia specific merch that isn't available in the States, there's also a bigbassstreams.com.au specifically for the Australian team. So if you guys appreciate what they're doing, appreciate what the brand is doing globally, please support them, support us, and we are going to try to continue to elevate what we're doing on this end of the camera to bring that experience to you guys. So Cal, Josh, thank you guys. Cheers, mates.
Cheers, buddy. Hope you enjoyed yourself.
Yeah, I did.
Cheers.
It's crazy because I just got my ass just feasted on by everything.
I'm gonna drink after cheese.
Oh yeah.
Oh, God.
We're out, y'all. Peace.
Cheers.
It's in my jeans, no yo denim. Some people try to rock it, but the clothes don't fit them. Pool full of sharks, tell them don't go swimming. Let them bask in the glory if the flow don't let them drown. Hot spitter, cold like winter. I'm trying to hit the motherland, be gone in November. Bask in the glory if your foes never get you. I've been switching up the temperature, they telling me